This is a type of education that we need, right? So when the children of Israel were enslaved in Egypt, and God told Moses to tell Pharaoh to let my people go, and God delivered Israel out of Egypt. We know the story, right? When Israel got into the wilderness, the children of Israel did not think they were Egyptians. Their pre-slavery history was not stripped. They knew they were Hebrews. They knew who they were before they came into Egypt. We don't know who we were genealogically. We don't know that. This, what happened to us, had never happened before in history. But God told Israel to teach these things diligently to their children. So I talk about this in my book, Bishop.
The test.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah. Chapter 25.
Okay.
And it's the role of education in the culture. It's a subtitle up under there.
Okay.
In chapter 25.
All right. Chapter
25 is titled "We Are Not Immigrants." Right. While he's going there, I felt in my spirit just to kind of touch on this too, because we're talking about Black history. I was talking to a guy today. Hopefully, I don't lose my thought.
I got it ready.
All right, but I was talking to a guy today, and talking about being a part of this group and making a difference. It was a Black guy, kind of a little bit older, and he was showing me these things that his group did. Right? He said they actually have the paper here. It said that they work alongside bank presidents, Native American tribes, churches, superintendent of public and private schools, synagogues, Jews, Muslims, companies, grocery stores, and convenience stores. So I was reading that. So I asked him, sincerely, I said, do we have any institutions or groups that do things specifically for so-called Black people? I asked him, are there any groups that do anything specifically for so-called Black people? His response was, well, no, that would be, he basically said that wouldn't be right? We have to be inclusive. So I'm looking at the list. This is the paper he gave me. I said, well, it says you guys work alongside the Native American tribes, the Jews. So they have their own. Why is it okay for them and not okay for us? Why is it a bad stigma when it comes to meeting the needs of so-called Black people? Because, and I had to explain to him that we have a unique situation. Let me make this plain. Before I get into this education, I have to make it clear what is so unique about us, right? So, and I've said this before, but for those who might not have heard, so we went, of course, we went through slavery, but the type of slavery that we went through had never happened before in history, right? Okay. When the children of Israel, I'm just going to give an example. When the children of Israel were enslaved in Egypt, this is a type of education that we need, right? So when the children of Israel were enslaved in Egypt, and God told Moses to tell Pharaoh to let my people go, and God delivered Israel out of Egypt, we know the story, right? When Israel got into the wilderness, the children of Israel did not think they were Egyptians. Their pre-slavery history was not stripped. They knew they were Hebrews. They knew who they were before they came into Egypt. We don't know who we were genealogically. We don't know that. This, what happened to us, had never happened before in history. When the Europeans, and I'm just being very honest when I'm speaking, of course, I love everybody, but I'm just trying to, history has no feelings. I always say our history is controversial by default. It's just no way to tell our true history without sounding controversial. It's just, so don't take it as a slight to, I'm just trying to give information, right? But the Europeans broke all the rules when it came to slavery. They broke all the rules. So slavery in itself have been since antiquity. But the slavery that they did, when they got it, nobody had stripped the people of their culture. And nobody had made it race-based, right? So that's what makes us a unique people. So we don't have a template. We don't have any type of slavery in history that we can look at and be like, oh, the same thing happened to them. We don't have that. We don't have that. So our situation is unique. So we need a unique conversation. This is a need, right? So this is why we say history is very important. Very important. So understanding that, and also, I don't know why, but God's got this on my spirit. So I want to, before we get into this education, I think this is education also. Many of us have heard of the Willie Lynch letter, right? I know many people, some people haven't, but a lot of people have, because it's been part of our culture for, this is a good 35 years, I guess, something like that. The Willie Lynch letter. And they say that the Willie Lynch letter was written by this slave owner who lived in the West Indies. The Willie Lynch letter, like the making of a slave. This is what he said. He said this is supposed to be a letter by a slave owner from the West Indies in the 1700s. He wrote this letter to the American slave owners, and you can Google it. It's a free, nobody could copyright it, right? But anyway, I'm gonna get on that. So he wrote this letter to the slave owners in America, telling them basically how to make a slave. He said something like, I know you guys have been having problems with your slaves. You've been beating them. You've been doing all these things, and it hadn't been working. I have found a foolproof way to control my slaves. And he said, and if you get this in them, it will regenerate itself for up to 300 years. You just have to get it in them. This is this letter that this guy named Willie Lynch, who was a white slave owner who lived in the British West Indies, he lived in the West Indies. He wrote to all the slave owners in America. He said, if you do these, you get in your slaves, you won't have to worry about it. He said, it's basically dividing, right? You put the light skin against the dark skin, put the old against the young. You find anything that is different, and you magnify it. And he said, if you put that in them, you don't have to worry about it. It's going to regenerate itself. Well, I had always kind of, like, you can actually look at us and see, okay, well, man, that worked, or whatever. That's the way we are, or whatever. But I had always kind of had a problem in my mind imagining, because I'm looking at how even today, there's not one white person or anybody that everybody is going to follow every word on.
Right. That's right.
I mean, I can't even imagine that, right? Because there's just too many different types of people who believe too many different ways. And I just, like you can look in Congress now, they don't agree on nothing. I can't see that. And not only with in this version, the Willie Lynch letter, one man wrote this letter, even though we say, okay, everything in the letter is the way we are. Well, that's easy, right? You can look back and say it. But as far as somebody writing some instructions, and everybody did everything he said. And the thing is, everything that this man said came true to all of us. Everything he said came true. Wow. That sounds too much like God, right? That was just hard for me to believe that one person could predict everybody was going to be exactly like he said. I just couldn't wrap my head around that. Now we get to the truth, right? So I have a video on my World's Best Kept Secret Facebook page and my YouTube page. The guy who actually wrote the Willie Lynch letter. He was a black man.
Okay.
His name was Dr. Kwabena Ashanti. His name was Charles Davis. It was Dr. Kwabena Ashanti, I think. He passed away now, but he explained the whole thing, right? But so I'm just saying the Willie Lynch letter wasn't real. No man predicted how we were going to turn out. So I just wanted to throw that in there too. That was just kind of some extra that I had been chewing on and wanted to get out there. So, because a lot of people still think the Willie Lynch letter is real, but he explained. He said I was young. He actually was he studied brainwashing. He was an expert in brainwashing. The guy who wrote the Willie Lynch letter was an expert in brainwashing. And so he wrote a book. He wrote a book to help so-called black people with the brainwashing that we're dealing with. Right. So he made a statement, and I said all that to say this. He made a statement. He said, if you know that you're brainwashed, then you're not brainwashed. He said it's only when you think you're not brainwashed that you're definitely brainwashed.
And gradually some things was added to it, but the basic letter was mine. Matter of fact, I saw a book the other day. It's kind of thick. No, this is not. This book here was added to the original. Okay. And there's no copyright in it because they didn't know who wrote it.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And so very little has been added to this one, but some others has gotten thicker. These are other people adding to it and so forth. Okay. But the original itself, was just two long sheets like that, front and back. But that's how the letter came. Now, I kept meticulous research though. I have brainwashing data of almost 30 years, before and after. And I've been trying to get help and support to go to court to use that data like the black dolls and the white dolls. And I haven't been successful with that, but I have that. And I understand it because if you know you brainwashed, you're not brainwashed. It's only when you think you're not brainwashed that you are definitely brainwashed.
Are we Hebrews, Africans, or does it matter? Philippians 4:19 says, "But my God shall supply all your need according to his riches and glory by Christ Jesus." As descendants of an amazing people who mostly built this country called America, we are a unique people who need a unique conversation to address our unique needs as a people. God does not ignore needs. Those unique needs of ours were caused by this unique form of slavery in America never seen before in history. You see an image on our book cover of our natural hair because about 70% of this book is actually dealing with the "does it matter" part. "For I know the plans I have for you, declares Jehovah, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Jeremiah 29:11, NIV. Be sure to pick up your copy on Amazon today. Copy and paste the link in the video description. One reviewer described the book as a love letter to a tribe, a family. This book is available in all formats: paperback, hardback, ebook, and audiobook. Hopefully, we'll find more grace and hope in these pages. Pick up your copy today. Grace and shalom.